Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best. A lot of people wondering how the Calgary Flames are going to turn out. Is it a much improved team over last year? Are we going to get much the same? Is it going to be a 10th place finish, fighting to the end for that last playoff spot? It's interesting. You know, I never thought the Flames would be in this kind of position where they got rid of a lot of money and actually would have some cap room to go after some other people that would really fit some holes here. So, having said that,
and they kept players, some free agents like Glenn Cross and Tanguay, who people didn't think they could. So what you just said is true, and keep those guys.
I think you really have to admire the way Jay Feaster has lined this team up. There are still some Daryl Sutter baggage on this team that they can't get rid of. I mean, if I was Feaster, maybe call Buffalo again and say, hey, thanks for the Cold League thing. Do you think you can take stage and offer?
Exactly.
Help!
Yeah, but, you know, they got rid of Lanko and they got rid of Regier and Cold League. So there's some big contracts.
Sure. Yeah.
Some of, you know, Regier probably would be better. I mean, if the Flames would be better with Regier. But anyways, I like what they've done.
Yeah.
You know, when I talk to my peers, my colleagues in the Calgary media, everybody says the Flames are doomed this year. That is the common speak with the Calgary media right now. They're screwed. They're not going to make the playoffs. I tend to disagree. And I'm not always this positive with the Flames, but for some reason, I like what you just said about what Feaster's done. And maybe more importantly, I think he has created a better atmosphere around this team. This team seems to have more fun. There is not every time for about the last 5 years, there was doom and gloom, even when things were happy. And I know guys who are on the road with the Flames when they're having success. There was still doom and gloom with Daryl Sutter in charge. That there was still this feeling like, you know, I don't know what it is, just something was going wrong.
Yeah.
And I think at training camp this year, there's been a looseness. Brent Sutter is being more of himself. He's not worrying about big brother, older brother above him. So, Mike, I think more than beyond what he's done with the payroll and on the roster, I think he's created, that's Jay Feaster, a better atmosphere.
Grant, when you just said that, the whole atmosphere, I have a tendency to agree with you. I heard an amazing story. That Mike Rogers, who's as nice of a guy as there is in my book, you know, hell of a hockey player for the Smurfs in the 80s with the Rangers, Calgary kid, real nice guy, but he does the play-by-play or the color commentating for the radio games. I mean, even he would get the third degree from, I remember them coming from down the elevator and Sutter wouldn't talk to him. He just treated him like he was part of the media. Here's a guy that was a way better hockey player than Daryl Sutter ever dreamt about being and paid his dues, is an outstanding person, and he gets the cold shoulder. So
no, that's a valid point.
There's no winning with that guy anymore.
That's a valid point. So I think that atmosphere is gone.
Yes.
And Brent Sutter, they had a practice before going to Banff this week where they're going to relax and do some stuff. It was just a fun practice.
Yeah.
I never saw that for a bunch of years here. So I kind of like that. That leads me to believe, now that doesn't mean you're going to win anything because talent, hard work wins championships. However, I don't think if you're feeling uptight, even if you work hard and all that kind of stuff, it's just not going to work.
You can't be led to believe, Grant, if you lose in January, it's the end of the friggin' year. You can't believe that doom and gloom. You got to have, okay, we lost, let's move on. Because every team loses.
Right.
You can't go through the whole year perfect.
It's an 82-game season.
Exactly, and there's a lot of valleys.
So I think that's a big plus for this team.
Sure.
So when people say, are the Flames going to be the Flames we saw before Christmas when they weren't very good, or the team we saw after Christmas? I tend to believe we'll see the team that we saw after Christmas and maybe a little bit better. They did feast Feaster family. They did feast on the lower teams last year, but why not? Why they should. And I think the atmosphere and what we just said will let them win more games against better teams more often. That to me makes them a playoff team, not a 10th place team.
We've yet to see Jerome skate with the team, and
he's
that's
back on the ice doing light drills, but not contact.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few guys like that too. I mean, Morrison's not going to be ready.
Corey Sarich, I guess, will be ready, but not certain. Here's the interesting training camp story. Before training camp, I think everybody want to see a younger player try and make this team. Max Reinhart, Paul Reinhart's son, from the Kootenay Ice, third round pick. he was looking good. And then Sven Berchi from the Portland Winterhawks, first-round pick this past spring, was the big flavor of the month and looked very good. Those 19-year-olds are not on the team. But this guy named Roman Horak, nobody would have picked him. He was acquired in the Tim Erickson trade, the first-round pick of Darryl Sutter a few years ago. Couldn't come to a contract agreement with the Flames, so the Feaster made an agreement or a trade with the Rangers and got this guy Roman Horak from the Chilliwack Bruins.
Who's yet to score a point.
That's my next point. Apparently, no Flame in history rookie has come out of training camp to make the squad, getting 0 points in the preseason. And it looks like this kid might suit up against the Sidney Crosby-less Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday. That is amazing. Now, he's a good player, but there's a lot of theories going on as to why he is. Is it because it makes Feaster and his management team look good on the Tim Erickson deal, losing a first-round guy? Erickson, did you hear that on the weekend, is going to start the season in the minors.
Yeah.
He didn't make the Rangers.
What did his agent tell him? Sign there because Calgary has a history of not playing young guys, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So is that, or here's what I think is the better deal, theory. Matt Stajan at $3.5 million cap hit is not good enough to be your centerman. This kid at a much cheaper rate, two-way contract, is probably a better replacement for your team. I think that's logical. Maybe light a fire under Matt Stajan to get him going. Don't know.
Bad training camp, bad year last year, no confidence, big bucks. You got to hide the guy somehow.
You know, Brent Sutter said he had an okay training camp. But when you make $3.5 million a year, okay doesn't cut it. You got to be good.
Yeah.
And if you had a crappy year last year like he did, don't you think you got to do something big this year? So that leads me to believe Matt Stajan is just not a good enough hockey player. He's a tweener. He doesn't have one skill set.
No.
Hi, I'm Henry Burris. I love Calgary, and I'm proud to call this place home. While Calgary has an interesting history, there aren't a lot of buildings that remain since the early days. And some of those that are left are in pretty bad shape.
Now we can revitalize this area with the use of robotic parking. It's efficient, it's accessible, and it's safe. The best part is that it's easy to use. For more information and a chance to invest with us, visit 7th Avenue AutoPark.com.